And we are live. Today, we will be discussing how recent U.S. intelligence came out and stated that China has been lying about the total number of deaths and the total amount of cases connected to the coronavirus. If you've been following my channel for the past month, as I've been covering what's been happening in the overall stock markets, in what's been happening with the virus, I've said time and time again, you cannot trust any of the data or information that's coming out of China. It's just flat out, there's no way you can trust it. You have to be very, very careful with the information. And the US intelligence report basically confirmed what I've stated. If you've been following the relationship between China and America for the past 2 decades, you would see that there's been tension there. And I would call this a Cold War that's brewing. And we have basically just went through our generation's roaring 20s. And you constantly hear me say that history doesn't repeat itself, but it damn sure rhymes. And we went through that big boom in the 20s, and then came the Great Depression. And right now, what we're witnessing and what we're living through is our generation's roaring 20s boom that just bust, the bubble just burst. And we're going through that depression. We have millions and millions of people filing for unemployment. We're going to see unemployment spike to well over 10, 15%. And then what got us out of the Great Depression? It was World War II. Again, I'm not here to push panic. I'm not here to push conspiracy theory. I'm going to give you factual, relevant information and allow you to build from there. But all of the signs are in your face. And as a three-dimensional thinker, you don't need to get emotional and get scared, but you have to understand that the US and China has been engaged in a Cold War for well over a decade. And China has been attacking us economically, politically, getting the US to sign on to bad trade deals. Both Republicans and Democrats, they've been attacking us when it comes to stealing our intellectual property. We've allowed businessmen to ship our jobs overseas. They've been going after our institutions, where they've been basically sending their students over here, getting a whole bunch of free education. So it's been the media is even in on this. There's a lot of things going on. So I really want to dive into this and come to this conversation with an open mind and understand that there's a lot going on, and you can't operate in this narrow lens as to, everything is a conspiracy theory. No, sometimes you can see that Rahm Emanuel said it best: never let a crisis go to waste. And I'm going to give you multiple opportunities and alternatives so that you can see where this can go. So with that being said, as you come in, please like the video, share the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure that you join my mailing list so that you never miss any of my live streams or my videos that I upload, because sometimes YouTube doesn't send out the notification. Also, please follow me on my Instagram, and you can send me a direct message if you want to converse with me or talk to me. And if you want to support the content financially, a link to my PayPal will be in the description below. And also, tomorrow is going to be our Q&A. So for those of you who donated and asked questions, tomorrow is going to be our day where we do our Q&A, and we'll go over some things. And I see some donations coming in. Thank you, Just Living, for the donation. And Jay Radical, thank you for the donation as well. Before I get into the U.S. relations with China, understand that we're living in the information age. The war of the 21st century, it's not going to be fought with tanks and bombs and soldiers on the ground. The war's going to be fought with bioweapons. You're going to see a lot of bioterrorism. You're going to see a lot of economic terrorism. You're going to see people basically mining your data. That's the type of wars that we're going to see. And when you understand this, and you begin to really witness this, let's look at multiple scenarios here. Let's really look at this because, see, as an investor, right, if you're investing money, you have to build a risk profile, a risk theme, and then you have to go in order. What's the most likely thing? And then you go, okay, what's second? What's third? What's fourth? So let's play this game. The first scenario could be that this was created in a laboratory and either the US created it in a lab and let it out, or China created it in a lab and let it out. Okay, that could be your conspiracy angle. And I'm going to give you information that can support that theory. The next one could be this naturally happened. Natural phenomenon that just happened, and China knew that this was going to happen, and they purposely downplayed their numbers so that it could severely cripple the West, who they're having a Cold War with. Because think about it. If China understands they have all of this data, they know all of the manufacturing is based in their country. They see that, remember, they were in the middle of negotiations. They came to a trade deal. They had the protests with the Hong Kong protesters. So there was a lot of moving parts going on. So what better way to get rid of the protesters and get back at America to let this ravage and make its way to the West, right? That could be the second scenario. Now think about this. And again, I don't like to participate in conspiracy theory, but let's pull this article up right here. I have an article here. The reason why I said that it could be two scenarios, because in 9/11, Larry Silverstein, he got a 99-year lease on the World Trade Center. And a month before 9/11 happened, he purchased specific insurance for a terrorist attack. Right? So now I want you to think about this for a second. Now, on one end, you can say, well, he got the insurance policy because the Twin Towers were attacked before in 93, I believe. Or the other end could say that intelligence was telling him that there's chatter of a potential attack that's going to involve planes, which is why he got the insurance policy. So as a three-dimensional thinker, you have to be able to look at all of the pieces on a chessboard, because you have to understand that one piece can be taken off the board and then another piece can be in play. So as an investor, you have to view everything. Like, a lot of people call me a flip-flopper. I'm not a flip-flopper. I'm intelligent. And I understand that you cannot be married to one way of thinking, because we live in a dynamic world. Things are constantly changing. But when you start putting on your thinking cap, you begin to see that there's so many things at play, and I need to make sure that I'm being prepared for it. Because by him getting that insurance on the building, he was able, Larry A. Silverstein, and you can go and look this stuff up for yourself, who has won nearly $4.6 billion in insurance payments to cover his losses and help him rebuild at the World Trade Center site, is seeking an additional $12.3 billion in damages from airlines and airport security companies for the 9/11 attack. Again, why am I talking about this? Because what happened in China with this coronavirus is going to be similar to 9/11. The world is going to fundamentally change after this. Now, let's put on our conspiracy hats and let's ask another question. Could the United States have known? Because think about it. How is it that little old me, and let's pull up my YouTube channel, right? I was making videos about this a month ago, and I was saying to you, the numbers are way higher in China than they're reporting. So how is it that little old me, I knew this, but you mean to tell me the United States government didn't know that it was going to be a lot worse? Of course they knew it was going to be worse. Maybe, just maybe, this could be Trump's way of trying to get jobs and stuff out of China. Again, we're putting on, that's a conspiracy, but I'm going to lay the case for all of these different ways that you can approach this. The bottom line is you should be looking to protect yourself. You should be looking to protect your family. As I've stated time and time again, I told you guys, stock up on some water, get you some gold and silver, have you some cash on hand, and make sure that you have a plan, right? Make sure that you have plans in place so that you know what's going on, because we don't know where this can go. But what we do know is we are going into a depression. And we know what comes after depression, which is war. So now let's get into this timeline. And I'm going to drop this in the chat for you guys to go and look at. Let's go paste. Right now, this comes from the Council on Foreign Relations, straight from their website. And you can see this has the entire history of China and the U.S. relationship, the United States relationship. But I want to get to something really key because this is when it really started to pick up. Right? So we have the Belgrade embassy bombing in 99. Right? Then they normalized trade relations in 2000. Right? Then you have the U.S. Sino spy plane standoff. Then in 2005, you have the responsible stakeholder. In 2007, you have the China increases military spending, right? In 2008, China becomes the largest U.S. foreign creditor. I want to read that for you. In September 2008, China surpasses Japan to become the largest holder of the U.S. debt or treasuries at around $600 billion. The growing interdependence between the United States and Chinese economies becomes evident as a financial crisis threatens the global economy, fueling concerns over United States, U.S.-China economic imbalances. Right? Then in 2010, China becomes the world's second largest economy. No one wants to be number two forever. Eventually, the little brother wants to become the big brother. Okay? Eventually, the little brother will want to become the big brother. Right? In 2011, the United States pivots toward Asia. Now, this goes into these trade deals, us signing on to bad trade deals. In 2012, rising trade tensions. The United States trade deficit with China rises from $273 billion in 2010 to an all-time high of $295 billion in 2011. The increase accounts for 3/4 of growth in the U.S. trade deficit in 2011. Right? Then we have the dissidents flee the U.S. embassy. China new leadership with the CCP. Then we have Sunnyland Summit. Then U.S. indicts Chinese nationals. Joint climate announcement. And right here, this is the most important thing that stuck out to me. The trade tariffs, the U.S.-China trade war, and what happened with Huawei. The Canada arrests Huawei executive. China has basically a major influence over this technology company that makes hardware, that makes phones. And they are the second largest phone company in the world. And it's been said that the software that they're running on there can basically spy on you. And the chips that they're using, which is in a lot of our devices, can spy on you. Now start thinking about the app TikTok. I want you to really think about when you see these people using the TikTok app, and we're going to get to this later on, but if I have your data, I know so much about you. I really want you to understand your phone knows more about you than you know about yourself. Your phone knows what time you go to sleep, what time you wake up. Your phone knows what type of woman or men you like to date. Your phone knows your insecurities. Your phone knows how many steps on average you take every day. Your phone knows what you like to eat. To the point where now your phone can start suggesting the next word you're going to type. It's called predictive algorithms. Your phone knows what you're in the mood for. What's your favorite beverage? So when you start getting that type of data, because remember, TikTok is owned by a foreign entity. So now you have to start thinking about propaganda that can be utilized and pushed upon you. You have to really start thinking about that. Now, for those of you who do not know the definition of a Cold War, let's get to it. It says, a state of political hostility between countries characterized by threats, propaganda, and other measures short of open warfare. Short of open warfare. Now let's listen to what Rahm Emanuel had to say.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before. I think America as a whole in 1973 and 1974, and that's just my view, but you never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before. I think America as a whole in 1973 and 1974, and that's just my view, but obviously the administration missed the opportunity to deal with the energy crisis that was before us. For a long time, our entire energy policy came down to cheap oil. This is an opportunity. What used to be long-term problems, be they in the healthcare area, energy area, education area, fiscal area, tax area, regulatory reform area, things that we had postponed for too long that were long-term are now immediate and must be dealt with.
So that right there was Rahm Emanuel back in 2008, where, remember, I keep talking to you time and time again about problem, reaction, solution. And you see so many politicians who they know how to use a crisis to manipulate it for their benefit, which is why you have to think about all of the different scenarios that can be on the table. And this article came out the other day right here where it says the CIA hunts for authentic virus totals in China, dismissing government tallies. The CIA has been warning the White House since at least early February that China has vastly understated its coronavirus infections and that its count could not be relied upon as the United States compiles predictive models to fight the virus, according to the current and former intelligence officials. Let's take a step back, because I know some of you knee-jerk reactions are going to be, oh, well, how can you trust the CIA? See, this is the problem with disinformation. You think that China, a communist dictatorship, you don't think that they don't have their own version of the CIA? You think America's the only superpower that has an organization or an agency like the CIA? You don't think that Russia has an agency like the CIA? You don't think that Iran has an agency like the CIA? You think that America's the only place that has bioweapons? You think that America's the only place that has nuclear bombs? You think America's the only place that has spies? You would be a fool to think that way. But see, we've been conditioned because many of you are emotional and you buy into these conspiracy theories that you think that America's the only place that's doing all of these atrocities. Understand that China has over 2 million Uyghur Muslims in internment camps. I want to repeat that for you again. China has over 2 million Uyghur Muslims in internment camps, in re-education camps. This is nothing new. This has been going on for time. I'm trying to get you guys to understand. This is bigger than just the CIA and COINTELPRO. This is the game of global chess. There's chess pieces on the board. We're just pawns. So we have to inform ourselves and understand, are we responding how they want us to respond, or are we being thinkers and viewing all of the pieces on the chessboard? I see everyone talking about, oh, it's 5G. It's 5G. Really? Really? That's the only thing? It's just 5G? What about the scientist that was trying to smuggle bioweapons onto the plane 2 years ago? Was that 5G? When the FBI caught Chinese nationals and diplomats trying to sneak on bioweapons onto the plane? We're going to get to that in a second. See, you can't just be one of these people who you automatically run into conspiracy theories, because again, you're very easy to manipulate if that's your knee-jerk reaction every time is, yeah, it's the CIA, to the point where understand that foreign governments have agencies that purposely promote conspiracy theories, because they know Many of you are going to respond that way. How do you think the flat earth theory took off so fast? Things don't just organically happen naturally. Someone is behind the scenes influencing these things. What happened to Bring Back Our Girls? Remember Bring Back Our Girls? Remember when everyone was running around talking about Bring Back Our Girls? What happened to that campaign? I want to show you something before we get back into the article about propaganda, because see, they spoke about this in the Cold War. One of the ways in the Cold War is you do it through propaganda. It goes back to your data in your phone. If you believe that your phone doesn't have a back door, and if you believe that these apps aren't tracking everything that you do, you're a fool. If you believe that they're not monitoring everything that you do, you're crazy. I want to show you something though, because I've been doing this for a very, 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 very long time. Right? Let's see. Where did I put this at? There was a documentary that came out years ago called Kony 2012. Kony 2012. This was about a guy named Joseph Kony who was in Africa, and he was taking all of these kids, and it went viral on Facebook. I never forget it. Out of nowhere, it just exploded, and everyone kept talking about, we have to go and get Kony. And this guy came out, and he was selling bracelets. You had to buy like a kit. And I remember saying to myself, what is a kit going to do about getting these kids back? And then time came out, and it ended up being a scam. But see, me being the thinker that I am, I was saying to myself, how did that just go viral that quickly? Who pushed that? And when you start understanding data and predictive algorithms, a lot of the things that you think and believe, do you believe them because you truly believe them? Or is someone influencing those things upon you as to what you should care about and what you should be outraged about and what you should be focusing on? Because see, as a thinker, when you really take that next step and you start thinking, you understand that your timeline, those are not things that you're interested in. That's what YouTube thinks you're interested in. Or is that what they want you to be interested in? Because see, when you are going to war, the hidden hand funds both sides. Because no matter who wins, I still win. See, if you go to war, you fund both sides. The Rothschilds, the DuPonts, they all do that. They fund both sides. So no matter what, it's called controlled opposition. So no matter when you think you won, you still lost. Because I funded both sides and I control the outcome. So sometimes you have to be very careful when you take these knee-jerk responses and you go, oh, it's 5G, it's 5G. Because that's what they want you to do. They want you thinking that way. And then Kony 2012 comes and goes. What happened to Kony? I thought we had to go get Kony. Where did he go? What happened to Bring Back Our Girls? Where did that go? Let's finish reading the article. Obtaining a more accurate count of the Chinese rate of infection and deaths from the virus has worldwide public health implications at a time of grave uncertainty over the virus, its speed of transmission, and other fundamental questions. For American officials, the totals are critical to getting a better understanding of how COVID-19 will affect the United States in the months to come and the effectiveness of countermeasures like social distancing, according to American intelligence agencies and White House officials. Mid-level bureaucrats in the city of Wuhan, where the virus originated, and elsewhere in China have been lying about infection rates, testing, and death counts, fearful that if they report numbers that are too high, they will be punished, lose their position, or worse, current and former intelligence officials said. Officials played down a revelation about an intelligence report sent last week to the White House saying the CIA has several weeks told White House officials not to trust the numbers that Beijing was handing to the World Health Organization. Thank you for the donation. Tencent came from nowhere. Games, movies, NBA with a huge share of market. They even had an advisor over there for the crisis. Crazy to think. Awesome points. Thank both of you guys for the donation. Don't worry, we're going to get to the NBA. We're going to get to Tencent. I'm building as we go to where we have to go. Now, let this load up. It says, stacks of thousands of urns outside funeral homes in the Hubei province have driven public doubt in Beijing's reporting. And then you start seeing pictures of all of these urns popping up. And you start seeing where they cremate people out, because see, in China, what they're doing is they're burning the bodies. They're burning the bodies. So you're not going to see all of the body bags and people dying because they're burning the bodies. And you have so many videos popping up of people who are talking about this that's happening to their loved ones. Now, to show you what I'm talking about, when I saw this video right here, where they were boarding up buildings and sealing people in their buildings, I said, this is much worse than what they're talking about. They're literally welding people in their homes, in their buildings where they're sick at. I knew that this was much worse than what they were reporting it to be, right? When you see them snatching people like this in the street, when you see them snatching people in the street like this, you know that there's more going on than what they're talking about. So when I seen these things happening, I knew for a fact that it was much worse than they were leading on, and that they weren't telling us the full extent. When they were snatching people out of their house like this, I knew it was much worse. And this is in China, so that you understand. So again, we're putting on our thinking caps. Did China release this as a bioweapon? Maybe. Or did this naturally happen and they knew that because the West is so heavily reliant on them, that this would destabilize the West, that this would put the West in a disadvantaged position? Because they've been attacking us economically through bad trade deals. They've been buying up our politicians. All of our manufacturing predominantly is over there. We've shipped all of our jobs there. We've hollowed out the middle class. So, I mean, it's perfect for them to attack us this way. Right? You have to really start thinking about this. Or could this be Trump saying there's no way that Joe Biden can beat him? Joe Biden barely can put together a full sentence. Right? So when you really start thinking about the powers that be, do you really believe that Joe Biden is the best that we could put forward? Out of all of the intelligent people in the United States, is Joe Biden the best that we could come up with? Or was he purposely picked to be a patsy so that Trump could get reelected? And then now Trump's whole thing is about, bringing back jobs, building a wall. Well, what better way to create patriotism and nationalism than to have this quote unquote invisible silent enemy that we have to fight? Doesn't it sound a lot like the war on terror? Well, now instead of having the war on terror, we're going to have the war on a pandemic, right? A silent enemy that you can't really physically fight or see, but you can put it on China and then start looking at the predictive programming, calling it the China virus. Having the CIA put out the report now and saying, oh, they're lying. Maybe they are lying, or maybe they are telling the truth. And maybe the U.S. wants to spin this as a reason to go to war. Because as I said to you guys before, do you want all of these unemployed people at home doing nothing? Or do you want these unemployed people maybe on a battlefield somewhere fighting a war? Right? So now you have to really start thinking about where this is going and what are they trying to get out of this. When you really start putting stuff together, you start saying to yourself, there's a lot of pieces on a chessboard. We don't know which pieces are going to get played, which pieces are going to get taken, but we understand there's pieces on the chessboard. Right? This says, this is another article. Wuhan residents dismiss official coronavirus death toll. The incinerators have been working around the clock. Right? So these are people saying this. Now, I wanted to read this article to you because this stood out to me when I first came across this article. It says the FBI warned about biosecurity risk after Chinese nationals snuck suspicious vials into the United States. Now, this article is April 1st, 2020. So they caught Chinese nationals trying to sneak vials on a plane. They caught them. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is the fact. You can go look up the cases and everything. This is factual information I'm giving you. This is not me gaslighting you. I'm not trying to scare you. This is what's been going on. It says, an intelligence bulletin from the FBI late last year warned of a growing biosecurity threat within the United States after Chinese nationals were caught attempting to sneak potentially dangerous viruses into the country by plane. It says, even when these samples were declared, so meaning like when you have to travel with these things, you have to declare that you have it on you when you go into the plane and TSA searches you when you go into the terminal, you have to tell them that you have this stuff on them. So it says, even when these samples were declared, investigators warned it is impossible to determine without testing the validity of the contents of the samples and if they pose a risk to U.S. human, animal, and plant populations. So think about that. They're getting on a plane with vials of viruses. And all they have to do is declare, oh, it's a flu, it's a flu virus. You don't know what's in the vial. And they're getting on planes with this stuff. And they got caught. It says last year's FBI report said in September that a Chinese national was stopped after he initially made no positive declarations, but was later found to have 8 vials of clear liquid in their checked luggage. The Bureau noted the vials had no supporting documentation. The Chinese national claimed that it was DNA derived from a low pathogenicity strain of H9N2, which was a flu-type virus that killed a small number in Asia. But some vials had WSN handwritten on top, an acronym for the H1N1 influenza virus commonly known as swine flu, which killed over 12,000 in the U.S. and more globally. The Bureau said that the materials were confiscated and that the unnamed person was allowed to travel to Texas to work with a researcher associated with an unnamed U.S. research institution. So I want you to think about that. These people are getting on a plane with vials that have viruses on them. In them. And the labels are not properly marked. So you don't know what's in these vials. So when you start thinking about bioterrorism, this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is the FBI reporting this stuff. This is the FBI saying they caught people, Chinese nationals, boarding planes with vials that's supposed to be H1N1. Mind you, 12,000 people died from it. So you have to start asking yourself, is this stuff being spread purposely? Is this bioterrorism? Because as I said to you before, the war of the 21st century isn't going to be fought, in my opinion, I don't believe it's going to be fought on the ground. I don't believe it's going to be fought with planes. I don't believe that they're going to fight this war with planes and nukes and tanks and guns and troops. I believe it's going to be an information war. I believe it's going to be a propaganda war. I believe there's going to be a war with an economic war. Because, again, for China to not report these numbers, you can tell that maybe they felt that this was a way that they can sting the West. They can finally get a way to hit the West. And there's 256 of you watching, guys. Hit the likes. And I'm going to put this in the chat so you can go later and go and read this. You can go and read this later on. Here we go again. See, I want to read a passage to you. I can't share my iPad because I'm using OBS and I don't really know how to use OBS yet. but I want to read a passage to you from my favorite book. And you know what book that is, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Because if you go and you read The Creature from Jekyll Island, and I'm glad that young man has said that the media ain't on the people's side. Of course they're not, which is why you have to look at all of the pieces on the chessboard. You have to be a person looking at all of the pieces on the chessboard. And this is why I say I don't marry myself to one position. People call that being a flip-flopper. I'm not a flip-flopper. I'm intelligent. And I understand that we are pawns at the end of the day. So I can't cut my nose to spite my face. I can't hate my government so much that I run into the hands of the Chinese. I can't allow racism and white supremacy to dictate everything in my life that I believe that the Asian man has more planned for me than the white man. See, let me repeat that for you again, because many of you think that, somehow like I'm some type of a coon and I don't understand what's going on. No, I understand multiple things can exist at one time. Racism and white supremacy can exist. And the Asian man can hate me just as much as the white man, if not more. Because guess what? If the white man doesn't have much planned for me, I'm pretty damn sure the Asian man doesn't have much planned for me either. And to show you that, I'll just play a little clip for you. Let's close this down. Sweet, where's this is the hostility that Asians have towards you. This is the hostility that Asians have towards black people. This is how they treat you. Asians are known to be very hostile towards black people. So I'm not a fool. I understand that as a black man, I have no allies. Everyone, I run my life like this. Everyone's an enemy, including other black people. Everyone's an enemy to me till they prove themselves to be an ally. Everyone's an enemy to me until they prove themselves to be an ally. You're not an ally just because you look like me. You're not an ally because you talk like me or you come from where I come from. You're an ally when you tell me that you and I are working in unison towards the same thing. That's how I think. See, I'm not one of these fools. I'm not a person that's just out here that's just blind. I know what's out here. So as I said before, you can't hate your government so much that you're willing to run to the Chinese as if the Chinese have more planned for you, because they don't. I can promise you that. They don't. Look how they treat the Uyghurs, and we're going to get to how they treat the Uyghur Muslims in a second. We're going to get to how they treat the Uyghur Muslims in a second. But I want to get to this Harvard professor because, see, and let me read this passage from the book because I can't share my iPad screen. I don't know how to do it on OBS, but I'm going to read this to you. So on page 206 in my favorite book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, they talk about the Fabian Society. And it states, the Fabians originally were an elite group of intellectuals who formed a secret society for the purpose of bringing socialism to the world, whereas communists wanted to establish socialism quickly through violence and revolution. The Fabians preferred to do it slowly through propaganda and legislation. I want to read that one more time for you. It says, the Fabians originally were an elite group of intellectuals who formed a semi-secret society for the purpose of bringing socialism to the world, whereas communists wanted to establish socialism quickly through violence and revolution. The Fabians preferred to do it slowly through propaganda and legislation. The word socialism was not to be emphasized. Instead, they would speak of the benefits for people such as welfare, medical care, higher wages, and better working conditions. In this way, they planned to accomplish their objective without bloodshed and even without serious opposition. They scorned the communists not because they disliked their goals, but because they disagreed with their methods. To emphasize the importance of gradualism, they adopted the turtle as their symbol of their movement. The three most prominent leaders in the early days were Sidney and Patrice Webb and George Bernard Shaw. Go get this book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, because it highlights this. And just to show you how people don't understand how espionage works, how there's foreign agents, just like the CIA overthrows foreign governments. You don't think that China has plants in our government? You don't think that the professors who are educating our kids, who are indoctrinating them with Marxist ideology, with communist ideology, with socialist ideology, where do you think that that comes from? Obama promised you the world and gave you nothing. Because, see, that's how socialists operate. They tell you all of the beauty of socialism. Free healthcare for everyone. Free tuition for everyone. If only we had more money. And then they get in office and you don't get anything free. You don't get the free education. You don't get the free healthcare. But they keep promising you it. We're going to give you the free stuff. You're going to get the free stuff, but you never get it. Or if you do get it, it's not enough. Because of inflation, because of market economies and how market economies work. Get this book, and I want to read one more passage for you. Right? It says communist moles. This is page 208 from the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. It says, Harry Dexter White was an American technical expert and the dominant force at the conference. This is the conference that they had on Bretton Woods when they were trying to dismantle the gold standard. He eventually became the first executive director for the United States at the IMF. An interesting footnote to this story is that White was simultaneously a member of the Council on Foreign Relations and a member of a communist espionage ring in Washington, while he served as Assistant Secretary of Treasury. And even more interesting is that the White House was informed of the fact that President Truman appointed him to his post. This man was a communist spy working in our government. So this has been going on for time. So now I want to get to this professor because, see, it all ties together as what's been going on. There are a lot of people who are working with foreign entities to dismantle America and take this country apart. Harvard professors arrest raises questions about scientific openness. Until late last month, Charles Lieber lived the quiet life of an elite American scientist. His lab at Harvard University researched things like how to meld tiny electronics with the brain. In his spare time, he grew award-winning pumpkins in front of his house. And then, on January 28th, the FBI came knocking on his door. Now Lieber faces charges of trading knowledge for money and lying about it. Prosecutors allege he set up a lab in China in exchange for hundreds of thousands of dollars in payments from the Chinese government and then denied knowledge of the payments to U.S. investigators. The Lieber case centers on a Chinese recruitment program called the 1,000 Talents Plan. It was started by the Chinese government in 2008, primarily as a way to draw Chinese researchers back to China, according to Michael Laura, the Deputy Director of Extramural Research at the National Institute of Health. The Chinese government wanted to bring back outstanding scientists to China so as to develop their science and technology, Laura says. But the NIH has become aware of numerous ethical breaches related to the Chinese plan, Laura says. Some researchers have submitted identical grant applications to both the NIH and 1,000 Talents. Others have shared confidential grant applications from other researchers with their collaborators in China. And then there is even a question of money. Researchers are failing to disclose the funding they receive from China to U.S. agencies like the NIH as required by law. The type of behaviors that we are seeing are not subtle or minor violations, Laura says. What we are seeing is really quite egregious. So you have professors who are basically, in the name of quote unquote science, developing technology and giving it to foreign governments. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that. I really want you to think about that. You have professors in college universities working with a hostile foreign regime that we're in the middle of a trade war with, that has over 2 million Uyghurs that are harvesting their people's organs. I want you to think about that for a second. I really want you to think about that. Here we go right here. Former Senator Joe Lieberman. He's working with ZTE and Huawei, who were making chips and cell phones that could spy on you, that Trump had to sign an executive order because they were a threat to national security. So I really want you to think about how you have U.S. companies and former congressmen and women and senators working with a country that has basically deindustrialized us, that has taken jobs. Think about this. Really start putting things together. Now, I want you to hear what Bloomberg had to say about China. Now, think about this. Here they want to make America seem like this is a bad place and we committed so many atrocities and all these different things, but they're willing to work with a foreign government that is spying on the United States politicians. That's stealing our intellectual property. That's manipulating their currency on purpose. Really start thinking about that. Now listen to what Bloomberg had to say, because this is important.
So the United States currently accounts for about 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Yes. China accounts for roughly 30% of greenhouse gas emissions. How do we, even if we get to net zero, how do you get China, India, and the other countries to be good partners?
China is doing a lot. Yes, they're still building a bunch of coal-fired power plants.
And they're still burning coal.
Yes, they are. But they are now moving plants away from the cities. The Communist Party wants to stay in power in China, and they listen to the public. When the public says, I can't breathe the air, Xi Jinping is not a dictator. He has to satisfy his constituents, or he's not going to survive.
He's not a dictator?
No, he has a constituency to answer to.
He doesn't have a vote. He doesn't have a democracy. He's not held
mean he can
accountable by
survive
voters.
if his advisors gave him.
Is the check on him just a revolution?
You're not going to have a revolution. No government survives without the will of the majority of its people. Okay? It's just, he has to deliver services. The Chinese Communist Party looks at Russia, and they look for where the Communist Party is, and they don't find it anymore. And they don't want us doing a lot. Yes, they're still building a bunch of coal-fired power plants.
And they're still burning coal.
Yes, they are. But they are now moving plants away from the cities. The Communist Party wants to stay in power in China, and they listen to the public. When the public says, I can't breathe the air, Xi Jinping is not a dictator. He has to satisfy his constituents, or he's not going to survive.
He's not a dictator?
No, he has a constituency to answer to.
He doesn't have a vote. He doesn't have a democracy. He's not held
mean he can
accountable
survive
by voters.
If his advisors gave him.
Is the check on him just a revolution?
You're not going to have a revolution.
I want you to think about that for a second. This is a man that was running to be the president of the United States. I really want you to think about that for a second. This is a man that was running to try to become the president of the United States, and he's telling you that he doesn't believe that China is a communist dictatorship. I really want you to think about that for a second, about how low we've stooped, because many of these people want one world government. I don't, you know me, I don't play the conspiracy theory game. We have numerous politicians talking about the new world order, creating the new world order. You have to be deaf, dumb, and blind at this point to not see what's in your face. And I'm not deaf, I'm not dumb, and I'm not blind. Go and read Behold the Pale Horse. You don't have to believe the conspiracy theories. You have to read the stuff to be able to think. You have to be able to read the stuff to think your way through what's happening here. Go and read Behold the Pale Horse by William Cooper. Go read 1984 by George Orwell. Go and read Aldous Huxley's A Brave New World. Take your time to go and read things so that you can understand there's a lot of pieces on this chessboard. You have to be able to see which ones are more likely to come out and how they are going to affect you. Now, going back to data and these apps spying on you. See, within every lie, there's a little bit of truth behind every lie. Behind every joke, there's a little bit of truth as well. Russian 2016 influence operation targeted African Americans on social media. Now, let's take a step back, because I know some of you're going to call me the coon. You're going to call me an agent. You're going to call me an Uncle Tom. Let me tell you something. I came on here and I've been making videos. Where's my channel at? Let me show you something. I have videos a month ago. I made videos a month ago and I said, I guarantee you're going to start seeing all of these pro-blacks, these hoteps, making videos about 5G, about how they can cure the coronavirus, how this is time for you to repent. How did I know? I don't have any data, but I could predict that all of these people are going to come out and start trying to sell you lectures and sell you herbs. How could I predict this stuff? You know how I could predict it? Because it's obvious. I talked to you about this before, about how the media purposely highlights certain cases because it drives traffic. Now, that's not saying that racism isn't real. That's not saying that white supremacy isn't real. See, two things can exist at the same time. Something could be real and someone can be using it to exploit you to get you to do something. When you start supporting these organizations and these groups that are trying to empower you, you have to ask yourself a question: who is behind the group? Who was behind Black Lives Matter? See, no one really asks those important questions. Who is behind these groups that's quote unquote trying to fight for your liberation, and where are they trying to steer you to? Because the road to hell was paved with good intentions. But see, a lot of you never stop and ask that question. That's not saying that Black Lives Matter wasn't fighting for something that they thought was noble. What I'm trying to say to you is that sometimes during an election year, people can use your anger and your frustration, and they can use that to get elected. They can use that to push their own agenda, and they can use that to push their own causes. And they can manipulate you because they have your data and they know what you like to watch, what you like to read. They know what stimulates you. Do you know that the NSA, they have big servers and warehouses full of data where they can literally record all of your conversations and build a profile about you? I'm trying to tell you that with the type of technology that they have, do you understand that there's apps, if you don't go and even if you turn your location off, I still believe they're following you. That there's apps that follow you everywhere you go. See, I don't get caught up in just the headline. I look a little bit deeper, and I just look around you. Black Lives Matter was exploited because it's controlled opposition. That's what a lot of you don't understand. It's because that group is only going to go as far as the group is going to go, as they're going to let you go. There's a glass ceiling on these groups. And it keeps you distracted. Now, TikTok said to be under national security review. Because I had people coming on here saying, "Oh, TikTok's not taking your data." If you believe that these apps, WikiLeaks and Eric Snowden exposed the NSA. As I said earlier, you think that the United States is the only government that has agencies like the Department of Homeland Security, like the NSA, like the CIA and the FBI? You think that China doesn't have their own version of the NSA? They're a communist dictatorship for crying out loud. They're a communist dictatorship. So when you see these people using TikTok, you really think that China's not backdoor stealing that data? Come on. You can't be that dumb. You can't be that naive. It says the United States government has opened a national security review of a Chinese company's acquisition of the American company that became TikTok, the hugely popular short-form video app, according to people briefed on the inquiry. Lawmakers raised concerns about TikTok's growing influence in the United States, said the people who spoke on the condition of anonymity because the investigation was confidential. One of the people said that the American government had evidence of the app sending data to China. The move is the latest in a back and forth between the United States and China, which are enmeshed in a global competition for technological dominance that has begun to cleave the high-tech world in two and start what some analysts refer to as a new Cold War. U.S. government officials have been particularly alarmed by the implications in China's 2017 National Intelligence Law, which contains sweeping language that requires companies to comply with intelligence gathering operations if asked. Chinese officials have pushed back against these assertions, saying that companies should comply with local laws while abroad. China they literally have it in writing that they can go and get that information because that's a Chinese company. But you have people in here telling me, "Oh, they don't get your data." If you believe that if you believe that China isn't mining your data, you are a fool. Give you one better. This is how you know that they're monitoring you. But TikTok's Chinese connections and growing popularity in the United States have drawn new concern in Washington after news reports highlighted that there were few signs of the Hong Kong protests on the app and that TikTok moderators were instructed to censor videos that featured a number of political themes. Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York and Senate Minority Leader, said the security review was validation of our concern that apps like TikTok that store massive amounts of personal data accessible to foreign governments may pose serious risks to millions of Americans. Now, let's take a step back. Let's really, again, guys, let's take a step back. Let's think. Let's put on our thinking caps. You just heard me talk about the NSA, Eric Snowden, and WikiLeaks. You think I don't know that our government does this? You think I don't know that Facebook does this? Guys, I'm no fool. Listen, I'm not trying to sit up here and brag. I'm intelligent. I read. I know about Cambridge Analytica, about what Facebook did with our data. I'm trying to tell you that when you download these apps and they give you a 200, 300 page terms and agreement, you don't read that agreement. You don't read that agreement. You just download the app and you say, I agree. And you are agreeing to all types of invasions of privacy. Okay? I'm not sitting up here trying to tell you something that I may think is happening. I'm reading stuff to you from their own quotes and their own words. WikiLeaks released thousands of pages of information. Eric Snowden had to leave the damn country because of what he released about the NSA. This stuff is here. 1984 in a brave new world is here. You have to start, again, like I said before, you got to get to the point now where you have to start looking at all of the pieces on the chessboard and saying to yourself, how am I going to play this game? Do I just give up and say, forget it? I don't care. I'm just going to be a slave. I don't care. And there's nothing wrong with that. Or do you fight back in some way? Right? Do you start networking with people and building organizations? Because you know what's coming next. They're already lining this stuff up. They're already lining this stuff up. I put the post on my community tab. You can already see it. I'll zoom in right now and I'll show you what I put up. You already know what's coming next. And I'm not here to be a conspiracy theorist. These are not little rinky-dink blogs. These are major media publications. This is The Atlantic. Health. Why you're probably getting a microchip implant someday. Microchip implants are going from tech geek novelty to genuine health tool, and you might be running out of good reason to say no. And I put up here, sinking realization. Soon enough, chip implants will become popular for communication, proven ID, viral immunity, vaccination records, payments, etc. The ultimate wearable / pinnacle of convenience. Those who fight this final elimination of privacy will be mocked as dangerous conspiracy theorists. There will be chip shaming. Put that up in my community tab. They're already floating that idea. Not conspiracy theory. Stuff that they put in, they put this stuff that was, and again, you know, to me, Alex Jones has controlled the opposition, but this stuff is in your face. You can't act like this doesn't exist when they're putting this stuff in front of you. Like when I'm talking about TikTok and they're mining your data, and I have people on here telling me, oh, they don't keep your data. Really? Really? How do you think YouTube suggests videos to you? You know how YouTube can suggest a video to you? Because they're tracking what you watch. And they have algorithms. It's called predictive programming, social engineering. Because they want to get a response out of you. They want to stimulate you in something because they have your data. And as I said in the post, a lot of you don't understand your phone is the microchip. Alexander Wilson says microchips are already in dogs and animals. Yes, they are. But understand, your phone is already the microchip. The difference is just going to be 30, 40 years from now, the kids are going to say, you know what? Back in the days, our parents, they used to have their microchips in their pocket. Now we carry ours in our body. Many of you, your phone is the microchip. Your phone listens to everything you say. It monitors your heart rate, how many steps you take. So that they know what type of shape your phone knows what type of shape you're in. Your phone knows how long you can run for, how many steps you take on average a day. It knows what you like to eat. It knows what type of porn you like to watch, what blogs you go to, where you sleep, where you frequent at. It knows all of these things. And what it does is it builds a profile for you. of what will stimulate you, of what will get a reaction, an emotional reaction out of you, which is why I keep trying to tell you guys, you can't be so reactionary about everything. You got to be a little bit logical. You got to be a little bit more, you got to think a little bit on a deeper level. Now, Bloomberg said China's not a dictatorship. This video is going to be hard to make out, but they're torturing this man right now. Don't worry, we're going to put up some better videos in a second. But they're torturing this guy right now. This is what they do to Uyghur Muslims.
Searching for the truth. Some people may now have a sense of closure. NTD's Jane Worrell in London reports on the latest findings in one of the biggest cover-ups in history.
Concluding that organs are forcibly removed from prisoners of conscience in China, an international tribunal delivers its final judgment.
Doctors killed those innocent people simply because they pursued truthfulness, compassion and forbearance in the case of Falun Gong practitioners.
Representatives for China, he said, were invited but did not respond. The judgment follows hearings in December and April in which over 50 witnesses testified, among them a former surgeon in China who said he was forced to extract 2 kidneys and a liver from a man who was still alive.
And even now, I go to mosque or go to church or go to temples to pray for him in case he was Muslim or he was Christian or he was Buddhist.
The tribunal found that Falun Gong practice.
After more than a decade searching for the truth, some people may now have a sense of closure. NTD's Jane Worrell.
So they're harvesting people's organs. I want you to think about this. They're harvesting people's organs. So I don't make this stuff up. This is in your face. So now remember the NBA. The NBA is all about LGBTQ rights and civil rights and, being a forward and progressive thinking league. But when the Hong Kong protesters was out there protesting for basic human rights, and Daryl Morey sent out the tweet, the NBA quickly instructed their players, don't talk about that. No, don't talk about that. You know why? Because it's about money. Our corporations have sold the American people out. It's all about money with them. And many of you got mad when I made this video. See, I'm not new to this. I've been making these videos for a while. I made a video here, and a lot of people came on here and gave me flack, and they were telling me I'm a coon, and I'm an agent, and I'm a sellout, and I'm Uncle Tom because I called LeBron James out. Because LeBron James is supposed to be Mr. Civil Rights, speaking up for the little man. And what LeBron James showed you, and look, this was 5 months ago when I was making these videos about the NBA bowing down to China. I was making these videos 5 months ago. The NBA showed you it's all about money. See, they speak about Trump because he's the bad guy. Everyone sanctioned you to speak about him. But you don't dare speak about China. Why? Because the NBA wants to get over there and do business. They don't care about the American people. And now look, we shipped all of our jobs over there, all of our manufacturing over there, to the point now where we barely can make masks over here. And I like what you said that China made it, because I said that China made him shut up and dribble. When Laura Ingraham told him to shut up and dribble, he said, I'm more than an athlete. China showed him you're only an athlete. That's what happened. But think about it. The NBA moved the entire All-Star game out of North Carolina for transgendered bathroom rights. Think about this. The NBA moved the entire NBA All-Star game out of North Carolina because they didn't support men going into women's restrooms and women going into men's restrooms. Right? Because a man can wake up today and say, I'm a woman, and he has to be allowed to go in a woman's room in North Carolina, a woman's restroom. And North Carolina said, no, that doesn't make sense. So they did it. They showed you they'll stand up for trans rights, but they won't stand up for the Uyghur Muslims that's in these re-education camps.
China doesn't want the world to see Xinjiang up close, to see the crackdown it calls an answer to terrorism. There have only been fleeting glimpses of swelling detention centers, but now there's real proof, secret blueprints of mass incarceration and indoctrination of Muslims. How this happens is outlined in meticulous detail in these secret documents, including a record of a 7-day sweep in June of 2017 in which more than 15,000 people were picked up off the streets and sent to these so-called education centers. But make no mistake, the orders in here are clear. These are especially during class, eating periods, toilet breaks, bath time, and medical treatment. That includes full video surveillance coverage of dormitories and classrooms free of blind spots, as well as a rollout of secret forces to prevent people from joining forces and causing trouble.
By the term religious extremism, the Chinese mean Islam.
Albanian-Canadian historian Olsi Azeshi sees in the documents echoes of what he saw for himself. Once doubtful of the detention of reportedly mostly Uyghurs, he recently asked for and got an official tour. His videos of smiling students, seemingly learning Mandarin, dancing, initially fit the government narrative.
The Chinese told us they have brought Islamic extremists. So we were expecting to find here suicide bombers, terrorists, killers. What have these students done to be here?
But the more he asked uncomfortable questions,
what is her mistake? Why is she here?
The more he realized this was all a show.
Their answers surprised us a lot. Somebody had prayed to God in public. Another one had put a hijab or a headscarf. They were not extremists. They were not terrorists. They were normal people who believed in their God.
You insist on this question?
Yeah. Official translators told him some of his questions were out of line. And when he noticed an odd wound on a woman's hand, an official interpreter became fed up.
You can give me 2 million to rescue her. Really? Because you are so nice.
He realized they could not leave. They'd been forced to confess supposed crimes.
In these centers, what they are doing is exactly what we read in George Orwell's novel 1984. These are mass brainwashing centers.
And back on the streets of Xinjiang, the homes of the roughly 1 million detained are sometimes locked. Signs telling all.
Did you hear what he just said? He said 1984. George Orwell, you have to go and read that book. Because if you go and read that book, you will understand so much as to what's going on around the world. You will get it. And I'm not sitting up here telling you that America's this utopian, innocent, honest place. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you that the fight for freedom is a worldwide fight. The problem is most people are asleep. Most people don't care, and they are asleep. And you have to start asking yourself very, very important questions as to what are you doing to protect yourself financially? What are you doing to protect yourself mentally? You have to start asking yourself these important questions.
Let's check out what's on the news today.
These are the questions you have to ask yourself. You got to ask those important questions. Because it's here. As I said earlier, I get it. As a black man, as a black woman, America hasn't been good to you. These Asians, they don't have much planned for you either. They don't have much planned for you either. And I want people to say, I'm not gaslighting you. I'm telling you. Asians have a history of being aggressive and hostile towards black people. It's just a reality. So I've spoken to you about how China has been hostile with data, how they've been spying, how they've been stealing intellectual property, how they've been buying politicians, how they've infiltrated our universities. Well, let's get next. Look at this. How China flooded the U.S. with lethal fentanyl, fueling the opioid crisis. See, if you want to destabilize a nation, you don't do it hand-to-hand combat. You do it from within. You sow seeds of distrust. You sow seeds of doubt. It says fentanyl is a form of a highly lethal synthetic opioid that's been making its way through the U.S. over the last decade. The largest source of this illicit drug is China. I went really deep and I tried to learn everything I could about the problem. And that brought me to China. He said, I actually went undercover into a pair of Chinese drug operations, including I went into a fentanyl lab outside of Shanghai, and I was pretending to be a drug dealer. He continued, what I learned was that these companies making fentanyl and other dangerous drugs are subsidized by the government. And so when they work in these suburban office parks, for example, the building, the cost for research and development, they have these development zones. They get export tax breaks. Guys, there are bigger forces at work. This is why I said this is, to me, after everything that I've read and I've seen, this is bioterrorism. This is bioterrorism, in my opinion. As I said before, there's 3 ways you can look at this. The first way is either America or China or some other government made it in a lab and let it out. The second one is this naturally happened in bats. Let's go over that narrative. But China knew that it was going to be really bad, and they purposely withheld that information from the United States to purposely impact them, because there's been tension with the trade war, with Huawei, with ZTE. Or the third is Trump understanding, or whoever is pushing that narrative, Biden is not going to beat Trump. Biden, like as I said earlier, he can't put together a full sentence. He can't put 2 sentences together. He's just a patsy meant to lose. And remember, roaring 20s, the 1920s, decade of expansion, economy's booming. Then comes the Great Depression. What gets us out of the Great Depression? World War II. Well, what did we just go through? What do I always say? History doesn't repeat itself, but it damn sure rhymes. We go through a 10-year boom, a decade. Longest bull market in the history. We're in a depression now. When you have millions of people filing unemployment, you're in a depression. Well, what's next? Go to war. What's next? So you have 3 options on the table. You pick which one you want to believe. Now, a lot of you are going to say, oh, you're a flip-flop or you're a flip-flop. No, I'm intelligent. I'm intelligent enough to understand as the information changes, I have to change. I have to adapt. You have to be highly adaptable. You have to be highly adaptable in this type of environment and know what's on the table at all times. I was telling you months ago stock up on water, get you some gold and silver, get you some cash out the bank over a month ago to get yourself together. Start thinking about that, getting yourself together, not going into the conspiracy theories, but getting yourself together. Now I want to get to the World Health Organization. Because see, you always hear people talk about we need more government. We need more government. The World Health Organization, which your tax dollars goes towards funding, is one of those quasi-government organizations. Remember, China knew about this back in late December, early January. And the World Health Organization came out and stated there's no human-to-human transmission happening. Everything's under control in China. And then boom, this happens. Now, I want you to listen to how he responds when she asks him questions about China. Because again, see, this goes back to the Fabian society. This goes back to socialists and communists. There are a lot of foreign agents and sleeper cells inside of the government. And you need to understand that. So let me play that for you right now.
Consider Taiwan's membership? Would the WHO consider Taiwan's membership? Hello?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I couldn't hear your question.
Okay, yeah. Let me repeat the question.
No, that's okay. Let's move to another one then.
Right, because I'm actually curious on talking about Taiwan as well, on Taiwan's case.
We decided to give Dr. Alward another call to follow up.
And I just want to see if you can comment a bit on how Taiwan has done so far in terms of containing the virus.
Well, we've already talked about China, and when you look across all the different areas of China, they've actually all done quite a good job. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much for inviting us to participate, and good luck as you go forward with the battle in Hong Kong.
That's the WHO. It's the World Health Organization. And you hear so many people saying, oh yeah, we just need more government. We need more government. That's what we need. We need more government. Well, let's look how much money we've been contributing to the World Health Organization. In 2010, 410 billion, 222 billion, right? 332 billion. Million. Let me fix that. 411 million in 2010, 222 million in 2011, 332 million in 2012, 331 million in 2013, 212 million in 2014. And as you can see, in 2017, we gave $513 million to the World Health Organization. I want you to think about that. Think about that. We're giving millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to these institutions that are just a proxy of China. So much corruption, so much fraud, so much waste. Because this goes back to decentralization versus centralization. We live in a world now of technology. There's no reason why things should be centralized the way that they are. There's just no reason why. There's no reason why. What are we paying? What are we giving them the money to the WHO for? If they're over there working and they're telling us in December and January that there's no human-to-human transmission. But look, we see our money isn't working. It's not working. Now, I always get trolls who they come on here and they say, why would you want to buy gold? What's the point? If there's a collapse, the last thing you want to do is own gold. Why you need gold for? You don't need gold. You can't eat gold. Well, October 6, 2019, China's gold buying spree tops 100 tons during the trade war. If gold is a useless piece of rock, why is China buying tons of it? If gold is useless, because this is what you trolls tell me, why am I buying gold? You should be buying food. If gold is useless, if silver is useless, why is China buying it? Why is the Federal Reserve Bank buying it? Why are central banks around the world buying gold if it's useless? Gold has been money for thousands of years. Gold has been money for thousands of years. Your pieces of paper, that's fiat currency. Every fiat currency in existence has failed. That's a fact. Every single fiat currency throughout the history of man has failed. Gold has always been money and will always be money. And when there's the reset, guess what? It will still be money. It says China has added more than 100 tons of gold to its reserves since it resumed buying in December, reinforcing its standing as one of the major official accumulators as central banks stock up on the precious metal. The People's Bank of China picked up more gold last month, raising holdings to 62.64 million ounces in September from 62.45 million in August. According to data on its website, in tonnage terms, the latest inflows total 5.9 tons and follows the addition of 99.8 tons over the prior 9 months. Look at this chart. But you're going to tell me gold is useless. That's what you tell me. I have trolls come on here and tell me, why do you need to buy gold? You know why you need to buy gold? Because the big people are buying gold. And trust me, if they said they purchased 100 tons, they probably purchased 400 tons. You never look at the headline. If they give you the headline, it's 10 times more, 4 times more, 5 times more, all the time. This is where you are. And this is why do you think China's interested in Africa? They don't give a damn about helping no Africans. They want the resources that's in Africa. And more importantly, not only do they want the resources, but they want to China and Russia is working together because they want to eliminate the West. They don't want America to get over there. That's why. But again, it's laughable when I see all of these conspiracy theories come out when the more logical information is right in your face. The easier alternative is right in your face. Right? Go through this history and you can see the entire timeline. U.S. relations with China. I don't need to eat gold. Guess what? I need gold to buy something to eat. That's the whole point. I need gold to convert it into a fiat currency to eat. Whatever form of money, because guess what? There will be a new form of money. That's why I need gold. If I have wealth and I spend 40 years of my life working, I want to have gold to preserve my purchasing power. Right? No one's talking about eating gold. You don't need to eat gold. Gold is money. Gold is money. That's what it is. Nothing more, nothing less. It's money. You don't use it for anything else. You use food, you eat food, right? Your car, you drive your car. Gold is money. That's it. That's what it's used for. Money. So there are a lot of forces at work here, and China is hitting us on all fronts. Now, that's not saying that we're not hitting back, but as I said to you throughout the whole video, this Cold War has been going on for decades, and China's been making progress. And eventually, a little brother wants to become the big brother. China's number two. No one wants to be number two forever. Eventually, number two wants to be number one. And when you look at the relationship, economically, China has deindustrialized us. Greed, our corporations have shipped all of our jobs over there, all of our manufacturing over there, to the point where we can't even produce masks at a quick enough clip or quick enough pace to meet demand. We have companies like 3M that are sneaking and still doing business with foreign governments even after the Defense Production Act was passed. We've signed bad trade deals. We've built China. The taxpayer, you've built China. Through your jobs, through the aid that's been funneled through the IMF to China, through the aid that's been funneled to China from the World Health Organization. The taxpayer did that. NAFTA built up China. Our institutions, our politicians are being bought out. They're selling out for the almighty dollar to China. Our institutions are full of socialists and communists who hate America. And they hate America so much that they'd rather see her fall, as if China has much planned for them. The only thing China has planned for them is for us is to harvest our organs, to surveil us. That's what they have planned. They don't have much planned for us. And the media, they're a part of this propaganda as well. I mean, think about it. Bloomberg owns a media company, and he's telling us that China's not a dictatorship. Think about that. This man's running for president, and he doesn't believe that China's a dictatorship. Yet they have close to 2 million Uyghur in internment camps. They harvest organs. They spy on their citizens. They literally are locking people in. As I showed you, this is what they were doing to people over in China, snatching them out of their homes. That's what China wants to do. Because if they do that to their citizens, what do you think if China can do this to their citizens, what do you think that they're going to do to you? Those look like prisons to me. They're predicting that China probably has close to 100,000 deaths. Between 80 and 100,000 deaths. People who have died from this. And this is why I said to you guys before, at this point, you know, it's here. It's in your face. I like what you said, Darnell Edmond, because I have this article here and I didn't get the chance to get to it, but 1 in 5 corporations say China has stolen their IP, their intellectual property, within the last year. Darnell Edmond said China forces companies to give them their intellectual property when they set up shop over there, and then after a while they take over the company and produce the product as their own or competes. Yeah, that's what they did with Baidu, with the search engine, right? Google wanted to go over there. They created Baidu and copied them. Right? That's exactly what they do. So I'll take a few questions. We're coming up on 95 minutes, but the bottom line comes down to this. I didn't put together this presentation to scare you. I put together this presentation to inform you that there's a lot of moving parts and pieces on the board. And now is not the time for you to be getting scared. Now is the time for you to begin to understand that we're all pawns in this game. There are bigger forces at work and at play. As I've said to you time and time again, we're going to experience dislocation where there's going to be parts of the economy that's in a depression, other parts of the economy that's in a recession, and then you're going to have parts of the economy that's going to thrive, right? Like there's going to be dislocations at different places, and you have to make your decisions based upon where you are and what you need. Now, as I said before, the silver lining to this may be, by this happening, may force jobs to have to come back. This may make a lot of companies and corporations realize that globalization doesn't benefit us. That could be one aspect of it, right? This could be a ploy to get jobs to come back. We don't know, right? Or this could just be the opening act for us to go to war. And I don't believe that the war is going to be at first, I don't believe it's going to be a hand-to-hand, on land, all-out siege. I believe that it's going to be through bioweapons, through a financial terrorism and economic terrorism. I believe it's going to be through data. And, as I said before, you have to really start asking yourself, why do you believe the things that you believe? And like I said, if I could predict that all of these pro-black channels were going to start trying to sell you lectures on the whole coronavirus and sell you how they can cure the coronavirus and sell you on, all of this different stuff, these herbs, I'm pretty sure that the people who want to manipulate you, I'm pretty sure they can do that as well. And as I said to you before, Coney 2012, where did that come from? How did it go viral? And then why did it disappear? Right? What happened to Bring Back Our Girls? And there's 270 of you watching. Hit the like button. I'm telling you that these apps, they spy on you. They're watching everywhere you go and everything you do. Everyone was so excited about Coney 2012. We got to go get Coney. And people thought because they purchased a bracelet, a wristband, that was going to get Coney. And then Bring Back Our Girls, everyone was putting up the picture. You have to be very careful with what type of movements you get behind. Because of many of these groups, they're just controlled opposition at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's just controlled opposition. And it's meant to try to steer you in a certain direction. So never lose track of that. Be aware. Be flexible in your thinking. Within this difficulty, there's going to be opportunity. Some of you are going to lose your job. Some of you are going to have to learn new skills. Be flexible. Be flexible in your thinking. Don't be one of these rigid people who you believe everything's some big bad boogeyman. Could be, could not be. What we do know is that things are going to get worse before they get better. That's what we do know. Things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. And now's the time for you to get right mentally, spiritually, financially. Get your house in order. Protect your energy. Be careful what you listen to and who you listen to. Are they gaslighting you? Are they trying to get you scared? Are they trying to sell you products and services that don't work? What is it? Ask yourself that. I agree with you. What makes the grass grow greener? You should definitely. The Second Amendment is a beautiful thing. Guys, if you go back and watch my older videos, I've been telling you, get prepared. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong. I said this. There's nothing wrong with getting prepared. There's nothing wrong with having water. There's nothing wrong with having supplies. Before the supermarkets got overcrowded. Link up with some local neighbors that you may have, or groups or friends, preppers, people who are preparing. Have some type of a contingency plan in case you have to leave your neighborhood, right? And if none of this happens, let's say in a month or two the economy goes. Let's say that I'm wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm 100% wrong. Well, worst case scenario, you just have you some extra food. You have you some gold, silver, crypto, whatever. You have your supplies, and this blows over. Sell your gold back, sell your silver back, call it a day. But at least you're prepared. Right? At least you're prepared. That's the most important thing. So with that being said, I'll take some questions for the next about 10 minutes, and then we'll see where we go from there. Let's see what's going on in the chat. And again, thank you to everyone who's donated. I appreciate it. It's the microchip on the outside. Thank you for the donation, Blake Rhodes. If you're trading, the best place to trade is to trade futures. If you want to trade, you mean like you want to trade your precious metals, and like, are you talking about the physical precious metals, Lou H, or are you talking about the paper market and you just want to make some fiat currency? If you just want to trade, you trade through Ninja Trader, right? That's the paper market through futures because it's going to give you the most leverage. If you want to sell your gold, you just go to a bullion dealer. Just Google, local bullion dealers, and you'll go there and you can sell it at the spot price and whatever premium that coin or that bar may be worth. I mean, it's fairly simple. Thank you for the donation, Ronnie Ron. Appreciate all you do, brother. No problem. And guys, tell me, how does the audio sound? Is it too loud? Is it peaking? Do I need to bring the gain down? Because remember, guys, I have a completely new setup. I have a new microphone. I have a mixer board. I plan on taking calls and stuff once I really figure out how to use the board. So just let me know if everything sounds okay. Audio is great. Okay, audio is great. Good, 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 good. All right. All right. All right. So that's good. All right. I haven't really. A lot of people keep asking me about the audio is great. The video is buffering. Oh, okay. I guess that may be like on your end then. Um, Everyone keeps asking me about the 5G thing. I don't really have a lot of time to go into it, but what I can tell you is I haven't had a lot of time to research it. What I can tell you is the battle between Huawei, ZTE, and America is about 5G. And this goes back to propaganda. You have to be careful as to what conspiracy theories you take on because that can be foreign governments looking to exploit your fear or your panic or your distrust in your government. This is why you have to read William Cooper's Behold a Pale Horse. Because, for example, let's take a step back. Let's say that 5G isn't bad, but China wants to be first in 5G. Well, what better way for them to gain first movers advantage to make the American public be afraid of it? Right? What better way? What better way than to put out propaganda and say it causes cancer? Then there's the other side. Maybe it could potentially cause cancer. You have to be fluent in your thinking. And you have to dive a little bit deeper than just listening to someone's hour live stream or a 10-minute YouTube video, right? You have to take the time out to educate yourself. And I like what you just said, self-made SM. I want to build up on my computer skills. What other skills should I build up on? I like to think and prepare ahead. Well, again, it all depends on what type of work you're really going to go into. Um, I always tell people who are looking to start with JavaScript and start with Python because those are the two easiest languages to learn. You're basically writing in language and you need to learn JS nodes, right? Learn JS nodes after JavaScript and learn Python. You start there and then you begin to branch off. Those are really the only two things you need to learn if you really want to get out there and start making money because they have the most basic applications. And then after that, you may want to go with like a C++. But for me personally, start with Python, start with JavaScript, and learn JS Node. Those are the things where you start at right there because those are the type of companies are always looking for those type of developers and people who have, like, for example, trading applications, website interfaces. Like those things are the basic things that you need to learn. Like if you learn those two things, you'll be 100% fine as far as being a programmer is concerned. Right? But that to me is where you need to start because that's where the most opportunity is at. Now, when it gets to developing on the blockchain, because that's where a lot of opportunity is at. Bitcoin has a script language, right? Like the foundations in C, but then they have scripting. That's a weird language because it's about pulling and popping. Like you push on a stack and then you pull off the stack, and you push on a stack and you pull off the stack. So like Bitcoin programming is very, very weird. It's hard to program on Bitcoin, to be honest with you. It's simple, but it's hard. It's not something that's like for a beginner. Then you have Solidity. I haven't really played with Solidity, to be honest with you. I don't really know too much about Solidity when it comes to Ethereum. But I know that, again, if you can learn the basics of Python, learn the basics of JavaScript, learn how to play with the JS node, you'll be fine there. So you could post another question if you like want me to answer something deeper, self-made SM. But there's a ton of tutorials. Like I'll show you right now. Give me 1 second. I'll pull it up. Like literally, there's tons of courses for free on Python and on JavaScript. Like literally, there's no reason why, you know. Like look at this. This guy right here. I've went through a lot of his tutorials right here. JavaScript in an hour, programming with Mosh. I'll put his link in it. He's very good when it comes to programming. I've taken a few of his like tutorials. Let's go copy link and I'll put it in there for you. Paste. Darnell Edmund said, "Are you interested in running for office?" No, I'm not interested in politics. I'm not interested in politics at all. You know, to me, politics are just not. It's just not something that's. It's too corrupt. I've realized that we've outgrown government. We need something different now. We need something completely different. And this is where decentralization comes into play. This is where crypto comes into play. I honestly believe that crypto is going to be our last chance to really get things figured out. At this point, if crypto is our last chance, is our last chance. At that point, we're done. Like if we don't get honest and sound money, we're done. Because it all ties back to money. Like even what 3M is doing right now. If their product was on a blockchain, they would not be able to get away with what they're doing. Because you would be able to know exactly where the masks are with a high degree of certainty. Like you wouldn't have to guess. You would know these masks was made here. You would have a correct inventory because it would be on a blockchain. It would be open. It would be in an open distributed ledger where everyone could see how many masks were produced and who owns the masks and where they are. But, when you have these systems, it breeds fraud. Right. Like we need a reset of government. And you need transparency in government. You're not going to get transparency with these. The government is too big to have transparency. Thank you for the donation, Mr. J. I appreciate your scholarship, bro. No problem. And a few of you asked me about Acon coin. Okay, let's get you out of here. A few of you asked me about Acon's cryptocurrency, right? I haven't looked at it, but I will tell you this. Because you get a lot of people who say, "Oh, Bitcoin is created by the government," because you don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. Let's take a step back. The whole purpose of Bitcoin's creation, Bitcoin was created by cypherpunks, right? The whole purpose of Bitcoin was creating a layer of privacy for you when you were able to transact on the internet. So the reason why Satoshi needs to be anonymous and you don't need to know who Satoshi is because if you know who Satoshi is, then you can co-opt the project. See, for a group of people who constantly talk about COINTELPRO, who talks about infiltration, you claim to know all of this information about how the Black Panthers was infiltrated and all of our leaders were co-opted. Well, then apply that logic to a cryptocurrency. If you know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, and he has a large percentage of the Bitcoin coins, you can then influence Satoshi to get Satoshi to basically create more Bitcoin, to change the source code, to influence the project, right? Because you can go after Satoshi's family, you could go after Satoshi's, background, his life, right? So by you not knowing Satoshi makes the project decentralized. So that means no one person has control over the project. No one person has control over the direction of the project. Because understand that Bitcoin isn't a new piece of technology. All Satoshi simply did was blend a bunch of existing technologies together that already existed. Hash functions existed before Satoshi put them together on Bitcoin. A timestamp server existed before. All Satoshi did was blend them together. So when you understand these things, there's a reason why you don't want to know who created it, because it's decentralized. The whole purpose is giving the people who use the Bitcoin network a level of privacy. That's the whole point. That's the point. You don't want to know who is behind the address. You want privacy. So with Acon coin, if Acon is the face of the coin, then Acon can be co-opted. Acon could be bribed. Acon could be forced to do something against his will that could impact the philosophy. The whole purpose of decentralization is giving people that privacy where you don't have. Why does Nike need to know my name to buy a pair of shoes? Right? Why does if I go on Amazon, why does Amazon need to know my address and my date of birth to buy something? And guys, thank you for the donation, Eves. Appreciate your hard work to educate us. No problem. Thank you. Good knowledge, given respect, right? Appreciate it, right? So when you listen to, again, I haven't looked at Acon's project because someone asked me that, and I plan on looking at that, right? You have to understand decentralization is about giving you power to the people and taking power back away from corporations. It's not about basically creating, corporatizing Bitcoin. Right? The whole purpose of decentralization, that's why before you can learn about any other cryptocurrency, you have to learn about Bitcoin, because remember, when you look at a blockchain on the simple, Bitcoin's more than just a blockchain, because Bitcoin has game theory and incentives built into it. Bitcoin's an economy. But if you just look at the blockchain, for example, right, just a blockchain, it's just a database, but it's a very slow and inefficient database. Right? When you're looking at Bitcoin, Bitcoin's not meant to be fast, right? It's designed to be distributed, public, and open. It's a settlement layer. It's designed to be immutable, borderless, permissionless. What does that mean when I say immutable? Meaning that you can't change transactions and you can't spend what you don't have. It's meant to give you a layer of privacy. That was the whole purpose of it. So I don't need to know who Satoshi is. I know what a hash function is. And I know that a hash function, you have to put an input and get an output, right? I don't need to know Satoshi because I can look at the code. I don't have to trust a bank, a government, an institution. I trust the code. I trust math. Right? When I trust math, I don't have to guess who got bailed out, how much currency is in existence, what's happening in the shadow. I know every 10 minutes a new block will be formed on average. I know what the Coinbase subsidy will be in every transaction. I know how many Bitcoin exist today. I know what the difficulty level will be. I can see these things happening in real time. That's hard money. And the price of Bitcoin doesn't determine its success. There have been well over 600,000 blocks formed and mined. Bitcoin's been up 24/7, 365 and humming for 11 years. The network hasn't been 51% attacked. It's never been down. It is the most secure network in the world. Bitcoin is more secure than Google is. There's more computing power behind that than Google has. Warren Buffett sold Delta because he knows that these airlines, Warren Buffett is a shill. Warren Buffett is a crony capitalist. And he sold these airline stocks because he knows that even if these airline stocks get bailed out, they're going to have to merge with each other. Someone's going to be, it goes back to like when Lehman Brothers failed, going back to 2008. Someone's going to be left holding the bag. Someone's going to be left holding that bag at the end of the day, right? So even if this pandemic goes away in 2 months, no one's getting on a plane anytime soon like the way they used to travel. People are scared, right? People are scared, and they don't have money. Guys, we're in a depression. 6 million people filing for unemployment insurance. 6 million people are filing for unemployment insurance. Like, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're talking about now another 30 days of social distancing, of non-essential workers not going to work. Guys, this is going to last us well into June. You know me, I'm a straight shooter. What's happening? And then let's say that China keeps playing the games that they're playing. Who's to say where this may go? So this can go very, very far. Warren Buffett is a function of timing. See, and again, because I have people that are white who are subscribed to my channel, and sometimes they get upset when I talk about race. But you have to be honest about race. Warren Buffett is a function of being a white man that was born in the 30s, 40s. He was able to participate in wealth transfers when other people wasn't. Like, to be a man and be a white man at that time, you had privilege, you had opportunity, right? Like you weren't oppressed in any way. Like, women didn't have rights back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s equal to what men have. Black people and Hispanics didn't have that opportunity to participate in the market the way that Warren Buffett did. He was able to participate in a market when no one else was able to participate. But now, with technology, now with the Fed with cheap money and interest rates low, everyone can compete in the market. He said it out of his mouth. So that's why I'm not being racist or trying to, play the race card. Warren Buffett said it out of his mouth. Like, it's harder to invest today than it was then because everyone has the same information now. See, before, information used to be like a commodity because you had access to information that I didn't have. But we live in an efficient market now where, everyone gets the earnings report at the same time. You can't go and cozy up with the CEOs from the companies and stuff like that. So it's a different game. So a lot of these, rich and wealthy people that you see, they're rich and wealthy because they're a function of timing. Like, if you were born and you were able to participate in the .com bubble, that's timing. And a lot of people miss that, like, timing. Like, when I made all of that money in crypto, that was a function of timing. I got burned in Mt. Gox. I got burned at Butterfly Labs, but I didn't quit. And I was able to keep mining, get back some of my Bitcoin. And then I was able to participate in that 2016, 2017 boom. That's timing. Right? You have to be at the right place. You have to have the skills. My coach used to say this all the time. I want to get this saying correctly. When preparation meets opportunity, success is inevitable. Right? When preparation meets opportunity, success is inevitable because you've prepared, you have the skills, and then the opportunity presents itself. See, back in 2008, I had the right idea, but I didn't have any capital to execute those ideas, right? So you could be the smartest person in the world. If you don't have any money to invest, it's pointless, right? But now I have money, so I can participate in wealth transfers when they happen. I can go short the banking stocks that was related to PTG, right? Remember I told you guys, like, when I saw Jay Morrison with those PTG guys, I wanted to know what banks are behind that. Who's financing these auto loans? Because I know that the people they're lending money to, they're not going to be able to pay their auto loans, right? So I had opportunity and I was prepared. Some of you have opportunity, but you don't have the preparation. Then others, you're prepared, but you just can't participate in an opportunity because you don't have no money. Right? So you have to understand that, like, that's what life is about. So you have to know how to figure out where you are. And that goes back to personal finance. And I say that to you guys all the time. Right? Gold and silver is not for everyone. Crypto's not for everyone. Stocks isn't for everyone. Real estate isn't for everyone. You have to find your lane, where you want to go and what you want to do. And you learn that through trial and error. You don't learn that through a book. You don't learn that through a YouTube video. You learn that through, okay, I watched the video, but then I went and tried it and it worked. Or I tried it and it didn't work. Right? You got to put that work in. Experience is always going to be the best teacher. That's what I can tell you. Um, Eli, facts. That has been my biggest problem, trying to do everything. Yeah, and you know what they say: a jack of all trades is a master of none. I like Chamath. He's really, really into technology, and he doesn't invest in the things that everyone else is investing in. He invests in things, and I'll pull him up on the screen right now. He owns the Golden State Warriors as well. This is what I'm talking about right here. I don't know how to say his last name. I don't want to butcher his name. Really, really good investor. Understands technology. Invests in companies before they're popular, and he gives people a chance. I like Catherine Wood. Really, really good. Give me 1 second. I'll pull her up. Catherine. You know, she's from ARK Investing. I'll pull her up right now. Great research. I love her research. She likes Tesla though. I don't like Tesla, but this right here, this is Catherine Wood. Really, really good. She's into technology. I love her approach. She's really big on like disruptive technology. Like I like to invest in things that are going to be disruptive. This is why, like I know Bitcoin's going to be disruptive. I know it because it's already disruptive. So those are some of the people that I like. People who they're looking into the future and things that are going to impact the future, or at least try to make the world a better place. I mean, Facebook was supposed to make the world a better place, but it ended up not making the world a better place. You know. Brenna Hicks asks, "Where do I see America in 2030?" That goes back to what I was saying earlier about putting all of the options on the table. I see America in 2030 as a second or third world country. I see America. That's where I see America. I just when you look at the baby boomer population, when you look at the amount of debt that we have in our system, when you look at the fact that there's so many economies that have young, vibrant populations, up and coming populations like places like India, you understand that America's days are numbered. Zulu Immortal said, "Eli, is cryptocurrency your lane to becoming a billionaire or relying on building a major company. I don't think I'll ever become a billionaire. I wish. We all can wish, but I doubt I would ever become a billionaire. But cryptocurrency is my lane. I have a lot of money banking on cryptocurrency. I have a lot of money into cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency and gold is where I'm either going to sink or swim. That's it. I'm either going to sink or swim. Darnell Edmonds said, "You ever thought about doing talks in a seminar form?" Yeah, I definitely would like to do that. The question is building up an audience, and that's another reason I've been working on my public speaking. That's why, to be honest with you, Darnell Edmond, that's why I've invested so much money into my YouTube channel, because I really wanted to work on my public speaking. That was the whole purpose of me starting this YouTube channel, because it's just some things that I need to get better at. Really articulating myself clearer, cleaner, getting to the point much quicker, being a better communicator. So that's why I created the channel, because I want to be like an authority in Bitcoin and in cryptocurrency, because that's the future, guys, period. I don't care what anyone tells you. That's the future. Thank you for the donation. Money over fame. What do you invest in besides Bitcoin? I have a lot of different crypto projects. Off the top of my head, I say this all the time. I'm heavy in Ethereum, heavy in Tezos. I like the whole basic attention token, BATS. Off the top of my Aeon, I have a lot of Aeon. I have Ontology. I have a whole list of different crypto and real estate. So, in precious metal mining stocks. That's what I made my money at. Mm-hmm. See, the difference between Umar. See, what I've noticed about the speaking game, right, guys, is that in order to get in the speaking game, you have to gaslight people. You have to gaslight people. You have to tap into like emotions, And I can't do that. I want to be more technical, and what I've learned about like the tech crowd is that I just think that that's a better crowd to go for, because you don't have to really focus on trying to like lure them in, for lack of a better word. They just come for the information and to be a part of the community, and that's what attracted me to the whole hacker culture, cypherpunk culture, early Bitcoin days, like trying to take over the world. Now I just feel like crypto's getting very corporate, and we're centralizing crypto. We're messing crypto up, and we're taking something that was given to us, a gift, and we're turning it into, we're centralizing it. Yes, I'm into the Austrian school. I'm into hard money, rational optimist. I'm into Murray Rothbard, Mises, that type of thinking. Milton Friedman, when it comes to economics. Thomas Sowell. I just think that those type of economic thought processes makes the most sense to me in a 5 cents reality. I think that this idea of big government has failed, and every time that big government fails, they constantly want to get bigger. Like I never seen something like that in my life, rational optimist, where you can mess up and you say the reason why I messed up is I didn't have enough funding. So then you get more funding and you mess up again. Like when you go and you see, okay, Trump dropped the ball, yes, but then you also see that the FDA and the CDC and FEMA dropped the ball, because they have certain guidelines in play that wouldn't release the testing kits. So you see it's like this ping pong ball back and forth between incompetence, because it's just not realistic to think that you can have a government that big. And some of these agencies, they don't have the proper technology, they don't have the right infrastructure. Like, look at Joe Biden. That should tell you everything you need to know about why this system of government has failed. Out of the 37 million, 27 million people in this country, you mean to tell me Joe Biden is the best candidate out of all of the people in America? Joe Biden is the best that we can come up with. So that just tells you right there that the system has failed. And Austrian economics, it always made sense to me. Now, yes, it's dated. It's a dated philosophy, and there are certain aspects of it that just won't really work in a modern economy. But for the most part, like, it should be rooted in those basic principles. Keynesian economics, Jason White, again, that's the difference between Austrian economics and Keynesian economics. Keynesians believe in hard money. They believe in a high time preference when it comes to money. Like, the more valuable money is, the less reluctant you are to spend it. Right? Think about it. Because if you know that the money that you're about to spend is going to be worth more a year from now, or be worth more 5 years from now, you're not going to go out and just throw it away. But when money doesn't have any real value, and people don't understand the need to preserve money and preserve wealth, you create these hyper consumer economies where it's all about consume. And, having an economy that's based off of consumption and not production is dangerous, because look at our economy now, right? Like, Keynesian economics is failing right now because here in America, our economy is solely based off of consuming products, to the point where now we can't even produce enough ventilators and masks and saline bags and gloves. A supply disruption can literally send us into a depression, right? Because our entire economy is based off people going into debt and borrowing money. Like, look at the debt bubbles that we've blown over the past decade, from the real estate bubble to the student loan bubble to the credit card bubble to the auto loan bubble. Like, this idea of, because Keynes believed in, this aggregate spending, and all spending is good, and that's just not healthy. Will Green, the best ledger is a Nano Ledger X. No, I don't know too much about the Iraqi dinar, to be honest with you. I'm glad you said that, Don B. That's exactly what we need, Don B. We definitely need just a new form of government, a new form of thinking. We need younger blood in there. We need more intelligent people. We need more technology. We need more efficiency in our government. We don't need it to be bigger. We don't need to hire more people. We don't need more programs. What we need is a more efficient way of running our economy. We need more efficient money. We need more openness. Too many hidden things happening. There's no reason why Joe Lieberman should be able to go from being a U.S. lawmaker to working with a foreign entity. Like, you should not be allowed to go work with foreign entities after working, being a lawmaker. Like, you shouldn't be allowed to go from working at Goldman Sachs, like Hank Paulson, and then come in and become the Treasury Secretary and then go back into the private sector like that. Those things should not be allowed. Right? That's just like gross negligence. There's just no reason why that should happen. Right? Like, when you're talking about data, there's no reason why, like, a company like TikTok should be able to collect your data like that. No reason why. So, but I'm going to end the stream here, guys. I've been talking for 2 hours. Thank you for everyone that's tuned in. Thank you to everyone that donated. I appreciate it. Please do me a favor and like the video, share the video, drop a comment below, and let me know what you think. Also, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Join my mailing list so that you could be notified. Follow me on Instagram. And if you want to support the content financially, a link to my PayPal will be in the description below. And I will see you guys tomorrow, where we'll do our Q&A, and that will be that. So, and also drop a comment below and let me know what you think about the audio overall. Have a great night.